Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in today. I'm here and in a really reflective mood this week. I kind of get a little bit like this when we head into winter, and the seasons have definitely started to shift and have shifted here in Melbourne. The overcast day of Melbourne is very neurotic, usually. It's kind of like a saying, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. But today, I guess there's some truth in that, actually. But today, it was just overcast all day. And I'm a summer baby. I need the light. I need the sun. And I need that energy. I think that plants and animals are affected by light just as much as we are, really. So I think I would kind of pick up where I left off the other day, and things surface in me, I'm sure they do with you too, whether you're aware of them or not. I think we kind of talked about in my last chat that if you're at a desk in your office and your head at life, and it's like all these papers kind of keep getting compiled up, and at some point you have to kind of unpack them. So maybe this is kind of cathartic to talk about it. I do kind of see sometimes, because I feel so alone a lot of the time, but I feel that because I live on my own and I work on my own, and I don't go out really. So it's very, and I live in a kind of remoter kind of part of Melbourne anyway. So there's a lot of thinking in my head. My little brain kind of tick, 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 like it's always ticking over. And so much so when things start to kind of come through, sometimes I just grab a recorder and I just start recording them, recording things that I'm saying. And sometimes I go back and listen to them, and it's just unbelievable what's coming out of my mouth. I cannot believe it. I'm like, where did that come from? I do this a lot when I used to do readings for clients. It was very important that we recorded the sessions as well, because I couldn't, let's put it this way, when I open up my crown, I can't have it open all the time. If I did, I'd be in a psych ward or I'd be dead. So I think I've mentioned that before, but things resurface. The further down that we bury things, the deeper we bury them, the more, they come back and manifest themselves in different ways. A favorite one that I like to talk about is if you don't do the self-reflection, if you don't do the shadow work, your demons go into the basement of your soul and start lifting weights. It's a good one. We all have snakes under the carpet. We all have things that we are ashamed of, things that we are, we all have baggage. We all come with a past, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, there'd be some terrible experiences. And one day, maybe, perhaps I'll share more of those experiences with you, because I feel that when I do talk, people that are meant to hear this will hear it. And I just try and trust in that. A big part of why I make art is because I want connection. I know people deconstruct my work. I know people don't like me. I know people hate me, people that I've never met. That's just how people are. People are very weird like that. But it is fundamentally about being received. Everything that we do is either a call of love or a call to be loved. And that's positive or negative. Everything we do comes down to connection or fragmentation, integration, fragmentation. That's everything. And so that was kind of like the thought that was popping up in my head. I went for a walk this afternoon. It gets dark quite quickly here. winter, everything's shutting down, everything's kind of, and I know over the years I've learned to know when to go in to rebuild myself, when to be silent. It's a big thing. I heard a good one I'm going to share with you is that we have 2 eyes and 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth for a reason. So if I go inside myself and I kind of become very reflective and I'm processing, that means do not disturb. And that is just how I operate, I guess. And if we're always talking, and running around crazy and not slowing down, you can't learn because you're not present in yourself enough to shut the fuck up and sit with someone and listen to someone and see them. No fidgeting, no Candy Crush on your phone, no talking. The biggest insult you can do, by the way, I find so offensive. It is very offensive to me when I'm around people that have very, very low levels of self-awareness, just lacking respect for other people on any level, whether that's high or low. But just an unawareness of like social etiquette, that if you're sitting with someone and you're trying to, at a dinner table, or if you're in a restaurant or a pub, and I don't care really where it is, it's okay to check your phone quickly, but be present with the other person. It's not a flex when you're sitting with someone and they are on their phone. It's just fucking rude. And it's interesting, like I think all relationships are kind of like a give and a take. One of my favorite sculptures that I will talk about was, I think it's called The Hands. I'm not sure if you know about it, please let me know in the comments. It was a piece that was done by Louise Bourgeois. I think that was her name. I'm sorry if I butchered it, but she's a very famous artist in France and Europe. And I often think about this piece. It's in my mind a lot. It's 2 hands that are joined together, but opposites to each other in one hand. And the concept is very simple, but so powerful. And it's kind of representing the give and the take of something. We're all giving and we're all taking. And that is a monetary system or an energy exchange that we give to people. And it really bewilders me that some people give such little crumbs of vulnerability or depth, or just anything really, of any level other than just superficial, but yet expect other people to like come in, bend over backwards for them. It's just crazy. I also find really offensive when people are yawning a lot when you're talking. Like that, right in your face, just yawning. It's just terrible. It's just so, it's just appalling. Like, it's vile. Low energy. It's like, am I a court jester? Am I supposed to like juggle for you, to entertain you? Am I boring you? It's a power play. Also, another one, no eye contact. I won't look you in the eye. They're always darting around the room. By the way, these are signs of Asperger's. They're signs of severe mental health problems, whether it is on the spectrum, ADHD, whatever it is. It's lack of connectivity and lack of awareness of that connectivity and not doing something about it. And that brings me to the thoughts that I had in my head today when I was walking around. And I'm going to share a little story with you. And then I'll get out of your hair. But I think we live in the age of loneliness where everyone's so fragmented from each other. And it's very difficult when you're putting out yourself online in a social media space. You want to be received because we want people to want us. It's programmed that way for our survival. We're tribal. And then you put forth this thing that is a representation of you, but it's altered. And then it doesn't feel right because you can't really trust it because it's not who you were. It's not who you are. We're all kind of altering ourselves for each other. We put on makeup. People put on makeup. They do their hair to hide their flaws and enhance their features. We all want to be seen, but we're modifying self for other. And I often think to myself, like, who are you when no one's watching? And I like to get deep and have these type of chats because to me, I'm always trying. I don't know, maybe I went to a psychic once and she said I should have been a journalist. And I thought, that's really interesting. Maybe I should have been a journalist. I'll be always searching to get to the bottom of something, the truth of something, which is complicated because truth is subjective. We can have multiple realities running at the same time, which are both true. What someone else's experience of something was can be quite subjective and different to someone else's experience. There's always variances. But the real story I'm going to share with you here is about walls. And perhaps modifying ourselves is a wall of protection. So it's like a shell that we don't want other people to see who we really are, which can only last for like a prolonged period of time because it can't sustain because it's not real. And then one of my favorite things that people will say to me when I say, you can't prolong something or sustain it when it isn't real, they say, what's real? And they're trying to change the goalposts. By the way, that's actually one of the biggest red flags for me when someone does that. So walls are, I'm putting this wall up around me and I'm not letting anyone in. I'm not going to let them see who I am. I'm going to create a persona. I'm going to create this character and I'm just going to kind of condition my brain, the neural pathways in my brain, create this thing that I put up and it just keeps everyone out because I got hurt and I don't want to get hurt again. And we all have people like this in our lives. We all know someone like this. And I'm not sure if I told you, but for years, many years, one of the things that developed my occult awareness and abilities, I guess you could say, or just developed me as a person was I was a massage therapist, a remedial massage therapist. I did the Cert 4 certificate, and then I did the remedial diploma. I took it very seriously, and at the time I used to work for Jim's Mowing. And I'm sharing a little bit of my story here, so bear with me. Being a Sag, I wanted to be self-employed by whatever means possible. And at the time, I used to work for Jim's Mowing, and my boss was getting into ice, and I could see it was all kind of taking a turn. And in your 20s, even now, like I feel like we're all kind of jumping from one dumpster fire to the next. It's like jumping from one sinking ship onto the next. And then that one starts sinking and then you're like, oh fuck, this is sinking. I've got to jump onto the next one. And I think that scares the shit out of me, by the way, because you really want to jump onto something that isn't going to sink. But at the time, anyway, back to the point, I decided to become a massage therapist. I like touch, and intuitively I've got these kind of really big hands, and I would see a lot of clients. I lived in my studio at the time, and where I painted and drew, and clients would come and see me. I was able to sustain an income and pay my rent every week, and some really incredible experiences. But what I learned most about it was the human condition. You know, really, if you've done massage before or any type of like healing work that's really kind of hands-on, it's a really, to me, healing work and holding space for someone, listening to someone, and connecting to their spirit, or, you know, connecting to the glue that holds us together. There is nothing more higher of service than that. Nothing. I don't care what it is that you do in the world. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is. Connection is the thing that we are all needing so desperately to connect. And over the years, like placing my hands on all these different people's backs, I used to get downloads. I used to kind of get out of my own way and place my hands on the client or the person's back and kind of go, what does this body need to tell me to do? What is it that the body's doing? And you get a whole variety of people that would come through the door. Some of them, you know, carry a lot of their tension in different parts of their body. For me, I carry my tension in my stomach. My stomach always plays up when I'm really like nervous or like stressed out. My stomach. For some people, it's the glutes, the gluteus maximus, glute med, and others, it's just in the middle of their backs. We all carry stress in different parts of the body, you know. I heard a good one the other day. The body keeps count. I think it's actually a book. The body knows. I mean, the female, the body has been, you know, producing babies since forever, like since humans evolved. So the body knows what to do. And then coming at its service is sometimes to connect to people. We don't need to go into some big, huge D&M and unpack all this shit. Sometimes we just need a simple answer, like a yes or a no, or even point in that direction and say nothing and let them figure it out. But that was the thing that shifted a lot of my perspective on understanding people and what people need and what I need and how we're all connected. So I placed my hands on people's backs, and if I tuned in enough, I could start to, I don't want to freak you out. It's tricky because there's people out there that know about this stuff, and then there's people that have just got absolutely no idea, and they're just fresh. They just walk straight through the door into spirituality or the occult or whatever. But I'll word it in a roundabout kind of way. We're all one. And the closer that you are in yourself to oneness is the closer that you are to other people, which means that the more intuitive, the more empathic, the more psychic you will be. So you will pick up everything in other people. That's what we're kind of hyper-tuned to do, negative and positive. And I would get street signs, people that they spoke with, things that were on their mind, would start just kind of, I'd go into kind of a meditative state. By the way, I couldn't do this with everyone, and not all people are. I'll share some experiences about it. It's quite interesting, actually. Some people, generally what I pick up is stuff that's happening with them there in that moment. So it could have been people that they spoke with. It could have been the street that they live in, where their car is parked, things that they think about, where their Ventolin is in their glove box of their car. Does their wife know where they are? Like whatever it is that's in their head, I can read it. I could feel it and I could see it. For me, I'm clairvoyant, claircognient. So in the clairs are clairvoyancy is seeing, claircognient, cognate, I know, knowing. and so on. They're my two Claires. I know and I see. And one of the things that I really learned a lot about all of this is that most people are hidden behind a wall. We go through a process called socialization where as kids, we're kind of free spirits. Everything's raw. We don't have any, we haven't been kind of imprinted yet. Society, politics, gender politics, all this shit, nothing. We're just a blank. We're just love. We're just vibrating at this high frequency, and then life comes along and just starts beating the shit out of you. And then you start figuring out, some people start figuring out who the fuck they really are, what they're really doing. But that's another video. So I would pick up a lot of stuff, and all of these things would just start streaming into my consciousness, and I can feel things and just know things. And sometimes I would bring up things that maybe they needed to be brought up. Sometimes it kind of like doing art. It's like sometimes it's a dance between surrender and effort. So as I'm making a picture, or no, I don't like the word picture, but as we're making a painting or a drawing, the drawing takes on its own consciousness, and then it starts to tell me what it wants to do. Put some blue over here, go over to this part of the body here. This is where we need to go here. And you just kind of let it flow, not forcing, but flowing. And it's a really incredible experience. And a lot of people do this in yoga work or some kind of meditation state. And yeah, it was a really interesting time in my life. I wouldn't be anywhere near as developed and astute and self-aware, I guess, as I am, had I not have done that for that period of time. And it was some really great times too. I met some really interesting people, but mostly I met men or people that in general, mostly male clientele, that had these walls up that no one could get over. And that was the premises of what I was thinking today is it's like a 7-year thing. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this. Things come in cycles of 3s and 7s, I've noticed. If you've lost someone and you're in a grieving process, it'll come back in the 3rd year really, really hard. You can Google this, by the way. And then 7 years later, it comes back up again. Same with relationships and breakups. Anything to do with a death or the severance of something, the ending of something, that code of that trauma stays within in your spirit, in your being. And it needs to come out like pus, like a festering wound. It must be released. I don't really trust people that don't cry. Every now and then a good cry is really good. I don't cry as much as I used to. I really wish I could cry a lot more, actually, like that, that type of tearing up and just, it's all just coming out. And it builds up and builds up. But it would be better for us if we just let things come out as they can. And sometimes we can't. Sometimes we're driving in a car, we've got someone with us, we just can't process shit. So in my solitude is where my strength is, but it's where my weakness is too. And yeah, crying and letting it out. So we've got people out there that really don't let anyone in. And no matter how hard I have tried over the years with these people, you just can't get over that fence. They are just unwilling to go deep. They're unwilling to be vulnerable. And I remember a client came to me, and this is what's resurfaced today in my head, was that he got on the table and there was this giant big lump on his back. And it was like a giant blackhead, like a giant pimple that had kind of grown into this kind of thing. And I just remember looking at him, and you can tell by his body language and his energy, I could see it, that he it took courage for him to come and see me, to walk up those stairs and come into come and be vulnerable enough to take off your, clothes, strip down and get on a table, be face down. This takes vulnerability for quite a lot of people, I guess. But what really stood out to me was that no one saw him. No one saw him naked. No one saw him. No one touched him. He was in some state of hyper emotional deprivation. And it's something that I've noticed with people. It's a certain look in their eyes. It's in their face. I see it a lot more these days. And it's just a quick glance and I can read it. And I can smell it as well. It's a scent. And I've come to understand that first of all, it's incredibly sad. This is the atrophication of the soul. The soul can't live without the body, and the body cannot live without the soul. And a lot of people that are so damaged or are unwilling to be vulnerable, and because in order to actually sustain connection, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Brings me back to the start of this chat. You can't get deep connection from someone and safety in a relationship when you bring no safety to the other person. That's not how relationships work. I just have to push that out there. But what it is that the atrophication starts to happen because the natural state of humans is with other humans. Don't you see it? We are the medicine for each other. Nothing will heal another human more than another human. And nothing will undo another human more than a toxic human. And that leads me to my point. If you're out there and you're listening to this, life is short and we're all going to be face down dead really soon. It goes so quick. It's off the charts how quickly life goes. We're here for merely nothing, So even if we are here for a very short period of time, we must choose to be around people that bring love into our lives. And if you are around people that are completely and utterly disconnected from themselves, from the walls and the stories and the fuckery that they have told themselves to whatever degree it is, let them go. Let them go with love, because the atrophication of you will begin to happen as soon as you get around these people. And they don't even know it. In their mind, they think everything's fine. They haven't got a clue. But you can take one look at them, really, really look into these people's eyes. A lot of it is self-inflicted. It is a choice. It is their behavioral patterns. And at some point, there isn't any helping or fixing. We've got to know when to let go. Knowing just to open up our hand and let that thing go, because it's just cutting you. It's just too heavy. And that allows us to be able to move forward so we can expand. Because people that are closed off are already dead. A lot of them are already dead. They're not even present with you. They're not even present with themselves. It's kind of like a closeted person, someone who's in the closet. If you're listening to this video right now, please hear me. I've got a lot of experience in this subject, by the way. You have to be authentic within yourself and tell people who you are in order for them to know who you are. In order for them to connect with you, you have to be willing to connect with them in an authentic way that is truthful. When you don't do that, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because you'll never ever taste real love or connection with someone else, because you're not loving yourself. You're not connected to yourself. And a lot of people live in distraction these days. It's like workaholics, or they just throw themselves into their work, or they're always in some kind of state of distraction, whether usually it's on your phone scrolling or materiality. It's all landfill. Everything we have will be landfill. Nothing matters more than the connection. The only thing that matters here is connection. That's it. Love that you give, the love that you receive, and the connections that we have. And some people will never get it. There's just a hole in their soul. And it doesn't matter how much love and signs you've given them and time you've given them. That hole is just always going to be there. And they choose to focus on that hole, whether they're aware of it or not. One of the key aspects I've noticed about this is when people actively choose to voyeuristically live through life. So they have sex with themselves more than they have sex with other people. They're too afraid of rejection, so they just masturbate, which, by the way, is terrible. That's also not what we're meant for either, but that's another story. I'm going to be doing a video on my thoughts on porn as well at some point. I had someone ask me about it. But yeah, they're not connected to others, and they're not pursuing connection. And if you're not pursuing connection, then what the fuck are you actually doing here? What are you doing? You're doing absolutely nothing. And I mean real connection, not just coming into work and leaving and doing the bare minimum and just kind of phoning it in. Life is short. So if you've got someone that you care about, reach out and tell them right now that you love them. Send them a text. I do it from time to time with my friends. I'll say, hey, thinking of you, dropped into my head, letting you know I love you. Or if it's a toxic person, get rid of them. If you're in a relationship with someone who's cheating on you, likes to have sex with other people behind your back, conniving, manipulative, lying, emotionally avoidant, doesn't come home, doesn't tell you where they are, puts you down, undermines you, never gives you a scrap of approval, you're not a dog. You're not a starving dog in the street. You deserve a T-bone steak. So what we kind of, what the stories that we tell ourselves of what we're worth is what we get. If you're in a minority, you've got a smaller pond to fish in, and I understand that. That's true. But what is life without hope? I've got walls up. I'm not exempt from this. I need to work on letting those walls down. I need to, I think the film Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, good example of this. I need to let those walls down too. I need to say yes to things. I need to be open to things. And I'm trying to change. I'm trying so fucking hard to change those thought patterns in my head. Because if you don't, that's how we do it. That's how magic happens. That's how creation happens. If we don't, something has to change in our head to make something shift. So I don't want, that moment with that man that day just blew my mind, because no one saw him. And I could see that he was dying. And I often wonder what happened to you to make you this way, or what happened to me or other people. And the stories that we kind of tell ourselves at some point, we have to get over this way of looking at life like, this is my story. Okay, everyone, this is my story. We've got to get over that. There are new stories to be written. There's new chapters in the book. Life just keeps on going. You're not beholding to anything. You can change your mind. You can move in a different direction. You can move house. You can move jobs. You can close down a relationship. We have to get the fuck out of our own way. Okay? Who said that you had to stay here? I mean, I just had a friend who decided, did the work, made the jump, did the plunge, did it. Jumped from one country to another because he wanted to change. That's amazing. And I've noticed that, generally the pain of where you are has to get to a point where the risk of the unknown is so great that you just, I'll just jump. That the jump is usually always worth it. The bounty on the other side of the jump is usually so much worth it. And a lot of the time it's like, okay, well, if it's, can we fix it? Can we repair it? All right, well, it didn't go that way. All right, well, then what can I learn from it? But yeah, let our walls down. Be vulnerable. When we're vulnerable, we can be real. When we're real, then we can have connection. Do you want to come over to my house and have a cup of tea with me or a coffee? And I'll put the kettle on. You can sit down on the couch and have a chat. Or do you want to play with make-believe, like little teacup sets and play make-believe? What do you want? Are you dressing up in a character now? Or am I because I want the real thing. Okay, we're here for the real thing, and it's so important to know what is real, all right? So this has been a vent, my thoughts, my feelings, my reflections, a little bit about me. I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. Just click on the subscribe button. It means nothing to you, but it helps me out. It helps my channel grow, and it helps other people that might want to hear these perspectives, because they only come from love. And sometimes I like to put on my headphones or whatever and just like lay on the floor and just listen. And if you've been listening to me, thank you for just trusting me today. Okay, bye.